All right, welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're taking a hard look at something I think most of us just accept as a totally unavoidable fact of life. I'm talking about the office layout. But researcher Oluyomi Oladavid has some incredibly eye-opening insights into the hidden costs of our modern workspaces. Her work, which is titled Economics of Space and Productivity Trade-off, fundamentally challenges how we think about where we get our work done. She argues that the physical spaces we are placed in have a massive and actually measurable impact on what we're able to produce. Okay, let's dive right into this by asking you a very simple, but honestly kind of polarizing question. Do you love your cubicle? Well, if you just rolled your eyes or let out a deep sigh, you are absolutely not alone. For decades now, the cubicle has basically been the ultimate symbol of modern corporate life. But Oluyomi Oladavid wants us to look way past the aesthetics and really focus on the economics. She identifies a major disconnect in the modern workplace. So we're going to explore exactly why that little partition square you might be sitting in right now is actually at the center of a massive hidden economic trade-off.
And that brings us to the core dilemma she outlines, this constant tension between maximizing resources and actual worker output.
To really understand this, we have to look at the root cause. In our rapidly urbanizing world, real estate is wildly expensive, right? So administrators naturally try to maximize space. But in doing so, they create a major blind spot. Think of it like a scale. On one side of the ledger, you have space-saving goals, basically cramming as many workstations as possible into a room to lower rent and overhead. Makes sense on paper. But on the exact opposite side, you have productivity losses. Oladavid argues that administrators are often so completely blinded by the money they're saving on rent that they entirely ignore the output lost when workers are crammed into distracting environments that literally work against their ability to focus.
Which leads us to what we might just call the cubicle catastrophe, especially when we look at the data coming out of the developed world.
Because this space-saving model isn't going anywhere anytime soon, she insists it's absolutely imperative that we evaluate its real effects. To prove this, she points to existing research, including a Harvard Business Review study that quite bluntly declared, and I quote, "Cubicles are the worst." Seriously, that's what they found. When researchers compared enclosed offices, cubicles, and open spaces, workers who had private and closed offices were by far the happiest. Why? Because they actually had the quiet privacy needed to get things done without 50 minor frustrations totally derailing their whole day.
So the crucial point here is this absolutely staggering number, 87%. According to the research she cites, workers stuck in cubicles with high partitions were the absolute most miserable. They reported low rates of satisfaction in 87% of the environmental factors surveyed. I mean, that is an overwhelming failure rate for a design that's practically the default in modern corporate architecture. Think about it. When 87% of your environmental factors are causing dissatisfaction, well, that isn't just a minor annoyance anymore. It is a severe drag on human capital and overall firm productivity.
But here's where her work really pivots, bridging a huge research gap by shifting focus to African workspaces.
See, while there's plenty of data from the West, she noticed a glaring blind spot. The specific impact of indoor environmental quality on worker productivity in Africa is scarcely investigated. This leads her to pose a critical question. What is the situation for workers in an African context? Do they suffer from that same 87% dissatisfaction rate? She set out to understand how these workers perceive their own workspaces and, honestly, more importantly, how localized cultural determinants are influencing their daily output. And this brilliantly illustrates the reality on the ground that she observed. For a lot of African office settings, this massive push for open, space-saving designs collides hard with the lack of cultural adjustment. She points out that these spaces are frequently plagued by endless distractions, eavesdropping, and, quite frankly, inconsiderate behavior. We're talking about being forced to listen to your coworkers' extremely detailed weekend plans or their aggressively loud typing while you're just trying to meet a critical deadline. The main culprit she identifies for all this, a massive lag in basic workspace etiquette orientation.
So how do we actually fix it? Well, she says it comes down to improving workspace etiquette and actively training for productivity. Oladavid puts the responsibility to fix this environment squarely on administrative managers. Her point is, if knowledge work requires focus, management has to actively cultivate it. You can't just hope for it. She lays out clear, actionable steps for this. First off, actively train the working community on workspace ethics. People actually need to be taught how to coexist productively in these open spaces. Second, update HR orientation programs to make open office etiquette a day-one priority for new hires. And third, stepping back even further, she hopes this research will eventually shape broad-based national policies on indoor environmental quality. Because at the end of the day, her ultimate goal is all about creating genuine win-win scenarios for administrators and employees alike. The economics of space do not have to be the enemy of productivity. By understanding these hidden trade-offs, actually investing in workspace education, and prioritizing human-centric environmental quality, she shows that companies can save on real estate while simultaneously boosting the satisfaction and the output of their workforce. It's really all about finding that perfect balance through very intentional management.
So, as we wrap up this explainer on Oluyomi Oladevid's crucial insights, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought. Take a second to look around your own office or even your remote setup. Is your workspace saving money, or is it secretly costing you and your company a ton of valuable productivity? Because understanding the economics of the space around you is the very first step toward reclaiming your focus and your output. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this fascinating topic, and I highly encourage you to look at your own work environment today with a fresh analytical eye.